wanna get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim?
California dreaming.
Hello and welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, Rojan Kim.
West Coast
Stop
shit.
touching this goddamn... Sorry if you heard that. It was me touching the pop filter. Do I even need this? Do the plosives come out too hard? The plosives? Is this the P, the poppin'? Is the poppin' bothering you? I'm sorry. I don't think this thing does anything, and all I do is end up touching it because it's kind of in my face. But you don't care. This isn't even on video. Oh my god. Okay. Welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's episode 129. Oh my god. We're already at episode 129. I've been doing it twice a week for so far this month, and I guess part of last month. But here I am trying to be regular, trying to do it. Okay. What do we have to talk about today? I don't know. I was, god damn it. I got distracted. I wanted to start the cast way earlier. Got distracted by Twitter. Got embroiled into a Twitter battle, Twitter beef, Twitter biggity. I don't know why. Why do I do this? But I do it. And I don't know. I think I do it because it's fun. You know what? I do it because Twitter is real now, man. Fucking presidents on Twitter, bro. That's how presidents are made, okay? You live and die on Twitter, right? You think life is important? You think any of this stuff is important? People are dying of coronavirus. You understand? Things are going to get destroyed. None of this stuff is going to be around anything anymore. Everything's going to be in virtual reality. Twitter is what's real. Okay, that's where the final stand of humanity is going to take place. The battle of good and evil, the fucking Armageddon, Ragnarok, all of it is going to take place. The revolution will not be televised, but there will be a tweet stream, okay? There will be live tweeted. It will be, god damn it, revolution will not be televised, but it will be live tweeted. You understand what I'm saying? So follow me at Rojan Kim on Twitter. All right. Anyways, I got embroiled into this silly Twitter beef because I don't know. This thing came up on my feed. This is what happens. I think my feed is curated. It must be curated to trigger me. I mean, of course it is, because the algorithm knows all, right? The algorithm is fucking, it's good. You're good, algorithm. I have to admit, it's fucking good. So, you know, this lady, this woman, I'm assuming her gender, apologize. She didn't put her pronouns in her bio. She calls herself a writer of books, TV, parentheses, She-Hulk, and Noble Blood Tales. I don't know what that is. That must be something else. Well, so she's obviously a writer, an artist. I'm nothing wrong with that. But then she writes, in retrospect, it seems impossible to overstate the cultural damage done by South Park, the show that portrayed earnestness as the only sin and taught that mockery is the ultimate inoculation against all criticism. And first of all, completely meaningless statement, but I took umbrage. Listen, first of all, you know, I ride or die for my boys, you know, for the dogs, for the South Park dogs. Are you kidding me? South Park is an institution. It's one of the fucking only things we've got, you know, keeping us fucking, I don't know, high and tight, keeping us legit, keeping us fucking, you know, taking ourselves too seriously, right? To take down Kanye a notch, you know? It's got to take down everybody. It needs taken down. You take him down a notch. So is that what she's saying? She's saying that earnestness as the only sin. So people who really believe and then mocking them. Yeah, but what if they're hypocrites and full of shit? And that mockery is the ultimate inoculation against all criticism. Meaning what? If you criticize who? You mock them? And that doesn't even make any fucking sense. The whole point of mockery, it's the opposite. It's the opposite, right? It's not, the inoculation against criticism is being good or being moral or being just, right? That's what it is. That's right. And, you know, that's it. And mockery, right, is a form of criticism. Mockery takes down people a peg, right? Takes down people who rejoice in the smell of their own farts, right? Takes people down, right? Like, do people need to be taken down? Yeah, I think so. I think that's why there's a jester, right? In olden times, you had a court jester who's the only one who could make fun of the king. But there's always a line, right? You go across the line, it's off with your head, so you got to find the right line. The best jesters rode that line, baby. You know what I'm saying? That because you don't want a jester who's just like, yes, the king is great. All hail the king. The king is above criticism. Nothing the king does is wrong. The king would be like, all right, let's kill this guy too. Off with his head because this guy's boring. This guy's boring the shit out of me. I got a million motherfuckers to tell me I'm doing great. They kiss my ass. Of course, I just need one guy. I just need one guy to just tell me the fucking truth once in a while. To just laugh in my face. Tell me, look, I look like shit. Just tell me I look like shit. Okay? And in a way, that was a check against autocratic, tyrannical rule, right? Because if you were the kind of king who just execute your jester for having good jokes, like if your jester nailed you and the entire court was like, when there was people were trying not to laugh because it was like, it was a good joke. It was a good roast. Like, boom, roasted. And he killed you, man. I think the overall vibe in the court would be like, the king is not just. You know what I'm saying? Like, the king's not cool, man. He can't fucking take a joke. I mean, look, we shouldn't talk shit about the king, but it's kind of true. You know, like, I think if the king's like, you make fun of the king, you're like, but your fucking nose looks like shit. And then just a silent pause, right? There's like uncomfortable, silent pause. And then he roars with a ha, 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 ha. He roars with laughter. Then everybody gets to roar with laughter, and the tension is broken. Ha, 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 ha. And he's like, come here, you fucking jester. You know what? I like this guy. This guy's got balls. This guy's got balls. You know, any one of those nobles comes up to the king and goes, well, your nose looks like shit. He'd be like, you're fucking dead, right? Because that's not what you do. But the jester is allowed to do it because you need to release a valve. Do you not understand the necessity for the release valve? She-Hulk writer, the writer of She-Hulk, writer of books, an artist. So she said it seems impossible to overstate the cultural damage. Overstate the cultural damage. The cultural damage. South Park did damage. Cultural damage. Whoa, man. And it's impossible to overstate it, right? I mean, sure, she qualifies it by saying seems impossible to overstate, okay? Impossible to overstate. So let me try. South Park was worse for our culture than the 20 years of war we've had. That seems like a ridiculous statement, but she's saying no, South Park is worse than that. The cultural damage done by that is worse. Okay, so then here's what I did that triggered, I guess, everybody else. I replied to her, and I guess I am a reply guy in that way, all right? Yeah, I'm a reply guy, all right? Okay. So I said, yes, South Park has done way more damage than perpetual warfare and the extraction of wealth from the middle and working classes to the corporate and political elite for the past 40 years. Great insight. Because I was just kind of, it's nothing to brag about. Got 71 likes so far. Nothing to brag about, right? Not say I'm not like, I just thought it's, first of all, the fact that a writer, an artist would say this is just, I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't get how you could call yourself an artist, and then not understand that like all art is under the purview of freedom of expression. Okay. If you don't disagree with art, you can't say that it's, you can because you have freedom of expression, but it's pretty shitty to be like, yeah, my art is good, but your art is culturally damaging, right? The art I make is free and fine, but the art you make has been harming society, okay? That's what it does. It harms society, okay? So then the first person to engage with me, this is actually what I live for, is when it's usually like, a lot of times it is somebody without a picture in the profile, and they'll engage with me, I guess. Coming up, stepping up. Liam at Robotronica decided to step up and defend his girl, Dana, as a white knight. I'm not saying he's white racially. I'm just saying as a white knight, the good guy standing up for chivalry. He stood up for her by saying, he put this in quotes. He said, this one thing isn't just as bad as this other thing, making it, in fact, a good and waste of time thing to criticize. Okay, he's basically saying that I'm distracting from the issue by saying, look at this bad thing over there. So it has nothing to do with that bad thing you're talking about, which is not, they're accusing me of the logical fallacy of whataboutism. Very common tactic that the woke crowd, or I guess the common debater, the person amongst the people, not to say I'm not amongst them, just saying amongst people who feel that they're good at debate, this is their first argument usually. There's two arguments usually are huge logical fallacies that they think they're being really logical in. The first one being the whataboutism of not whataboutism. Okay, let's explain whataboutism. Whataboutism is super simple, right? You go, Hitler's bad, and you go, yeah, what about Mussolini? Okay, great. Understandable what that is, right? A distraction. That's what he's accusing me of. I'm distracting, blah, 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 okay, by saying that, all right? But here's the reason why it's not a good argument, because that is not what I'm doing. See, so then I clarified. I just clarified. I was like, okay, that's not what I said. You know, what I was basically saying is that I think an artist who tells other people how to art is hypocritical at best, and at worst, a cheerleader, a guardian of the status quo, right? Because you're saying, you know, because you're basically saying like your art is dangerous. You know, that's the kind of effect and change and things I don't want to see. My art is good. It's acceptable, socially acceptable art, right? It's conformist, right? It's marching lockstep with dominant convention. That's what art is that doesn't transgress, right? That doesn't bother anybody. So this is what you're advocating for, nice art, right? And so, right? So that's what I said. And then this guy's like, that's not what's happening here. In the same way the West Wing taught a generation of liberals the wrong information about liberalism, South Park taught a generation that the smart thing is to mock people who are sincere. And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? She's being a hypocrite, right? And like this is why like part of my arguing with people is fun, right? Because it's completely dumb. Like this argument, first of all, he's saying, the West Wing taught a generation of liberals the wrong information about liberalism. These are claims. How do you prove this? This is just like an opinion. I basically said you present your West Wing statement like it's some incontrovertible fact when it's an opinion about a fake government on television. Meanwhile, what has our actual government taught a generation with its actions in the real world? So that's all I'm doing. I'm contrasting this idea of South Park the show as culturally damaging versus, let's just say, the actions of our government. Okay, what is more culturally damaging? And then the next thing that happened is like somebody else came out and was just like, she never said anything about war. She never said. And I was like, what? How do you separate war damage from cultural damage? Like, what is cultural damage? It just is like a made up thing. Damage is damage. You're basically making a claim of harm. So tell me, right? How can you say that you can't overstate the cultural damage of South Park when we've had a torture program? What about our torture program? That seems pretty culturally damaging. You know how that's damaged our culture? Every fucking movie has torture in it, okay? Every movie has fucking, anytime anything goes wrong in a movie and you need to find out information, torture is the number one solution. Let's start breaking fingers, or let's jab this knife into him and twist it until he's like, oh, okay, I'll tell you. And usually the information is good, and then it seems morally justified that we did that, okay? And you know why? Because we have CIA operatives deep in Hollywood informing all this stuff. I mean, I don't know if that's really true. Well, I know that's kind of true for movies like Zero Dark 30 and whatever, like that Jack Ryan show, all the like sort of pro-war state propaganda shit. But I'm just talking about like, what about just the effect subconsciously of the entire culture knowing that we just fucking go around torturing people, man? That's what we did. We had a whole torture program. Do you understand that we had a torture program, like an office, the $4 million that went into it, it creates an office. That means we turned torture into the office, you know? Just like fucking guys going into work, just being like, I gotta go torture again. God damn, just having meetings. I feel like I must have said this already. This feels very familiar, or I haven't said this. But that's what I'm saying. Okay? That's cultural damage. Rationalization of torture, making everybody through entertainment, whether on purpose or not, feel like torturing people is an okay thing to do as long as the ends justify the means. That seems like a huge, more so damaging than South Park. I don't know. It's a bunch of fucking cutout cartoons, right? That make fun. I think honestly, to me, it's transparent that the people who criticize things like South Park or comedy, and please remember, it's me again defending comedy. Okay, like I can't help it. I can't help it because I know that one day, and hopefully soon, that they'll come for me. You know what I'm saying? Like one day, you think it won't. You think you're on the side of right, that you make the good art or whatever. But the only reason you can make the good art that you think is good is because there's a freedom. Okay, they can't have laws that say that only good art is allowed and not the bad art. Okay, and who the fuck gets to decide that? You? Of course you think it's you, but no. Your taste sucks. How about that? How about fuck you and your taste? All right. I'm using The West Wing as an argument about. Actually, that's actually just really a huge part of. It's indicative of the culture and the whole thing. So the person trying to engage in debate with me is bringing up a fictional show about the U.S. government and claiming the harm that it did, and ignoring what I'm saying about the real government. At every turn, he's not answering the question of what about like real shit. And then like other people are really trying to be like, she never said anything about war. She said it's impossible to overstate the cultural damage. What about the cultural damage of war? All right, no, nothing. Whatever, man. I think people overall are on my side. I mean, overwhelmingly, people, of course, are on Dana Schwartz's side because it's her feed and her timeline. All right, yeah, I'm the asshole who went, well, she appeared on my timeline. It's a fucking algorithm, man. But that's what I'm saying. This is the thing. This is the whole. This is less about like PC culture, woke culture, about and it's more about what I see as a troubling trend in our society. So two things. One is this really strange sanctimoniousness, this like moral high ground that people are taking, especially people in the arts. People in the arts are basically doing what conservative Christians used to do in the 80s. They're telling people what's right and wrong, what the right thing to watch and see, what the right things to think are, the proper you know what I mean? It's very like religious in that way. It's like you have to believe these things, and it's impossible to overstate the damage of the mockery of the people who just wanted to earn it. I mean, it's just like, the fuck are you talking about? We are murdering people. There's people in this country who can't drink water. Yeah. What's the cultural damage of Obama drinking the water? I'm going to go on about that. Like, is that a big deal? Is that a big deal? Huh? Is that a cultural? That seems like a little more important. Ask the person who's got a fucking, baby whose IQ is now permanently 30 points lower than, it could have been because of the lead in the water in Flint. And ask them how bad South Park, South Park is a release. South Park is one of the only ways that you can find a release, right? One of the only comedy shows that I ever saw that made fun of that or addressed the water thing was fucking $1 Million Extreme, okay? Or World Peace, $1 Million Extreme. Those guys. Those are the only guys who ever fucking talked about the water at all. And they are the alt-right, Nazi guys. They're talking about fucking how the government has turned on the people. All right, whatever. You guys are radicalizing me and pushing me to the right. I want to start listening to Steve Bannon, man. He's making sense. Steve Bannon makes sense. No, I don't. I have been listening to Steve Bannon. I don't agree with the guy. I don't agree. Listen, I don't agree with everything that I listen to. But you can do that, right? You can actually listen to people that you don't have shared things with and find commonalities, and also find ways to critique what they're saying and try to signal from the noise. That's something Bannon likes to say a lot. Here's one thing I'll give Bannon, man. The man is a fucking political beast, right? Like, he can survive political. I mean, he knows he's a master. He tells the truth and he tells the lies in a way that is it's like he bullshits in a way without bullshitting as much as possible. Even though, there's points where he knows he's bullshitting, he has to, and he does it, and he does it, and it's, and he does it, and he's like a soldier, because he's a fucking soldier, okay? And so I can appreciate that. I get it, right? I'm not even invested. I don't have a dog in this fight. It's just like, I like watching dog fighting, but I'm not betting on anybody. I'm not invested, But I gotta tell you, mainstream media and the CNN and the majority of the voices that are out there in the landscape, political landscape or whatever, it's just pretty bad, man. It's just not inspiring, and it frankly seems kind of emotional and unhinged, and honestly using the ridiculous logic of the people that I presented earlier in my Twitter beef. I can't believe this whole episode is about a Twitter beef. That's how important Twitter has made elections. You got to understand, Twitter is the future. No, Twitter's over. It's probably going to be some new thing. Anyways, do I live for this? Yes, I live for it. You know why? Because, first of all, I'm an artist, okay? I'm an artist, all right? And as an artist, I believe that you can't be in a place to tell other artists how to make art, all right? Because then your own voice is in jeopardy. You have to be united in freedom of expression, all right? Like comedians especially, I feel, kinship to in the sense that we're going to make mistakes, we're going to cross lines, we're going to offend people, but that's all part of comedy, right? Because I understand that's part of how the sausage is made in comedy. That's part of the ugly side of comedy. That's part of the side of comedy that's being exposed to people prematurely, and they're seeing it and they're like, we don't like that. And that's what we are trying to tell you as comedians. That's our world. Yes, that's how the good stuff. Things don't just come out good. See, that's the thing. The inherently uncreative, the people who don't understand creativity, they'll make these arguments like this West Wing argument of like, it taught a generation of people, or people saying like, she said cultural damage, not war damage. You know, like in their minds, culture is somehow separate, the separate entity, you know, that somehow is on its own and is not it's kind of an absurd view of it, as if and it actually is kind of, it makes sense. It's not that absurd. You know, I got to give him some credit. We are in a commodified culture. All our culture is commodified, right? Everything's monetized, commodified. So everything is seen as a product. So, okay, I could see that culture being seen as its own individually packaged product, as separate from like politics and what economic, you know. And that's part of course, the destruction of the education of our country, right? Because culture is everything. It's not just one. That doesn't even fucking make sense. Makes no sense, okay? Furthermore, I can't fault the audience. I never really fault the audience. You know, I don't like to blame the audience. I feel the artist has responsibilities, right, to the audience, to connect, to whatever, entertain, to deliver on what the audience wants, but not only to pander, also challenge them, to bring them to a place where they had no idea they could be. You know, it's like together you reach a synergy, audience, artist. Together you reach a synthesis, a new place, right? Totally unexpected from neither artist nor art or audience member. You know what I'm saying? Neither of them expected, but you're in this new place of appreciation. It's a beautiful, transcendent thing. You can't quantify, or commodify, or do anything. And above all, I would think that an artist, another artist, Dana Schwartz, writer of books, TV, She-Hulk, and Noble Blood Tales, that she would understand such a thing. She would understand the importance of art to culture, the importance of the diversity of art to culture, the idea that culture is a reflection, just like art is, of society formed by people who make the government makes decisions that affect other people around the world. And those decisions, though they seem sterile and antiseptic and over there, they're actually affecting us as well. Just look at what happened during the time period of the Vietnam War. How much, I mean, I grew up during the 80s. People were just so traumatized from the Vietnam War. They just couldn't stop talking about it, right? I was born on the 4th of July. This is Vietnam, Oliver Stone. Just over and over, Full Metal Jacket, fucking Hamburger Hill, goddamn Platoon, fucking just movies over and over. This is Vietnam, yeah. And they're like, never again, never again. And then in 91, we invaded Iraq. And then we're like, we're back, baby, you know? But the scarring, Vietnam syndrome, that's what they called it. The fear of going into war because of the protracted battle. And now we're like, fuck it, we ain't afraid. We're going in for 20 years. Yeah, that's how we learned. I would say that all of that affects culture. All of that is important, and that South Park, if anything, is a release valve. It at least provides an opportunity for people to mock institutions, to mock things that we're not supposed to say. You shouldn't say, the whole, whatever, trans, race, whatever, all the no things that we're not supposed to do, that I guess the Democrats have now, that's their thing now, right? Not anti-war, not helping the poor, but making sure that we say the right words and making sure that people aren't mocked. Like, that is just the dumbest fucking thing I've ever. It sounds like people who are just mocked all the time. That actually just is what it sounds like. It sounds like people who are mocked all the time being like, hey, don't mock us. Let's stop mocking. Why don't you just come with something harder? Why don't you come with something better? Why don't you be more relevant? Why don't you succeed in the marketplace? Why don't you, I don't know, just fucking be funny or be whatever you write better. I don't know. I just get upset when artists go after artists. I think it's just not right, man. It's not right. Okay. Whew. Anyways, I think the Twitter storm is dying down. I think I've made my point. The people have, at least on my thread, overwhelmingly supported me, so that's what matters. The numbers, baby. Engagement. Algorithms. That's what those are the real things we're talking about. That's reality now. That's where we're at. And speaking of, please come follow me on the Twitter, the Instagram. Follow me online at Rojan Kim. Go find me at rojankim.com. Follow my podcast or subscribe to it on the Apple, on the Stitcher, on the Spotify, on the Google Music. I'm all over the fucking place. Just look me up, Rojan Kimcast. That's all you got to do to look me up. Please subscribe, please follow, and all of that. I got a show coming up. It's going to be next week, downtown LA, the Lexington Theater. It's an 8 o'clock show. It's a storytelling show. It's a free show. If you want to come out to that, why not? It's kind of a divey bar, but it's fine. It's going to be great. I got another show coming up a couple months, but I don't know why I say but. Like I was going to say something. I got nothing. All right. Bye.